There's such a weird amount of time. One thing I wanted to show you. Pathfinding. Pathfinding. Yeah, here we go. Also you have already seen, of course, a bit stuff from these results, but I wanted to show you also my takes from that, because I, of course, also knew a lot from this track. So first of all, my PB is now this. It was difficult for me to really decide to full hunt it, because at some point there were 3 Germans in front, and the question was, does it even make sense that I also train? Then I have to do, of course, TM award stuff. There was a new campaign coming out, a whole update and so on. Like, I did not really have time because of all that. And we had 3 Germans in the front, so it felt like, on the one hand, I wanted to hunt this, because I wanted to show others I can also be fast, and I wanted to be one of the 3 Germans that score. But then on the other hand, like, if I hunted and I'm not getting into the top 3 German, then I waste a lot of time that I could have used otherwise. And since we were on position 1 to 3, in that moment it did not really feel right to do so. But in the last 2 days, of course, everything changed, and others also found, or however, got to know the strats. And then actually it would have needed that I also hunt and I try to gain positions. But the last 2 days of the hunting I had to work. I knew that already since a long time, that I will have to work. And yeah, in the last hour I hunted offline when I closed my stream on Friday, and in the last minute, at literally 20:59, I improved to this record. And that was, of course, not great, especially if you see my record in comparison to Raizo. You will notice a very crucial part was, of course, this jump here, getting it clean up. And that was, of course, not the case in my last try attempt. I did have a few clean attempts for this, but it does not happen too often. Yeah, I must say I was pretty consistent in getting a start like my PB had, like with a small clip. I got very often a decent start like that, because just getting the jump at all was not easy, you know. But I got such a start pretty consistent, so I was doing well, but at the end, this was not enough. Also for 39 times, you kind of have to get that clean. If you have a start like this, then it's almost impossible to get a 39 mid. And this is what we would have needed to get, you know. So I wanted to show you a little bit how the track looked like. And I think that even if we didn't use the program, there is a good chance that you find the line on this map. In the beginning, yeah? Also when you see this map now and you haven't done anything with the track, then you will be, of course, very like over-flooded with every thing here. No? You first have to get a clear idea of what is connected, where can you go, and so on. And that is, of course, something that takes a long time. So when we feeded our program with sector times from checkpoint to checkpoint, we of course had to look from every checkpoint, how can you go to every other checkpoint. And we did that for the program, but I guess you have to do it anyway, because this is the only way how you figure out all the parts, all the ways that this map actually offers. Yeah, I also noticed this here, you cannot never really use it, but it's also a funny little detail, but since you never come from this direction, it doesn't help. And hello Mark, with another raid today, thanks a lot. I just explained the pathfinding map, guys, that we had in the TM games, because I was the one with Lars together, we together found the fastest line here, and I tried to explain how that worked. Basically, once we went to every checkpoint and figured out all the ways that this map offers, all the connections between checkpoints, we feed it in our program. But if we didn't do it, there is a good chance that you figure it out, what the best line is. So first of all, I can show you a line with all these left checkpoints here, or with some of them, yeah? Also the bottom left. If we look from here, the bottom left checkpoints, you have this one, this one, this one, this one, you know? So, following thing. It is very obvious that these are connected after each other. Just because here is nothing, and yeah, you have several checkpoints how you can get here. But it's obvious that you connect these two. This one here is obvious to be connected with this one. I will show you soon a bit more. And then those two only are connectable into one direction. So if you come from here, it is just a very short way with this ramp to this one. And then you can drop down to this one, and then you can just jump up to this one. You could also drive that the other way around. If you come from here, you just drop into this one, but now you have a quarter pipe jump, which is obviously slower than if you drop in the other direction, you know? And then you also don't have a connection to this one. That means if you would drive like this, you end up here, and it's not nice. It's not as good. So if you now start already and you say, okay, you take this, 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 it should be definitely in every single route. Also I say that now knowing what the solution is. The thing is, the program told us what the fastest line is, and then you look at it and then you think, oh yeah, makes sense. No? So it's very easy to tell about it like that. But I think it was gettable, even if we didn't get the solution like that. I think it was gettable because this combination here I think is obvious. So now the next part that I want to show is this part here, this checkpoint in particular, and also this checkpoint. Also again, the question is, do you pass this checkpoint from here or from here? I can tell you, also this checkpoint here is also obviously connected with this one, because like they are both on the far outside here. There's basically nothing here. It is very obvious that you connect them. If you would go from this checkpoint into this checkpoint, you will have a slow sector now, because you don't get up here to this one, so you have to go there. And now you can either drive on top here and make a huge quarter pipe jump, which is super slow, or here make a quarter pipe jump. You don't even get to this one very easily. Also everything is slow. So if we would then already agree this cannot be in the best route, you have to go into this direction, then there are two options how you can get into this checkpoint from here. Either you do it from this checkpoint, or you actually do it from here. This checkpoint, by the way, is also very difficult. It is very separate from anything else and very hard to get to. But yeah, you could drop from here and take all the speed that you have over this bit of penalty into this. But then you come to an issue. If you connect those two checkpoints, this one here and this one there, then you will have an issue with this checkpoint. Because most likely you enter the checkpoint from here, no? You take this very obvious connection. But if you have this one already, where do you go? And there is an option, but very awful chicane with penalty here, and then you would go to here, to this one. But also that doesn't make any sense, because if you would go to this checkpoint, yeah? Let's have a look at this combination again, from this one to the full outside, and then from the full outside to this one. You actually don't have any checkpoint to go for from this here, apart from just this. It's like the only connection. And since we have a lot of only connections, I think it's very gettable, this route. So what I want to say is, you get into trouble if you connect this one with this one very quick. Hence, it's very obvious to go from this one, drop to this one, go from here to this one, and then of course connect to this one, and from here to this one. So this whole connection is basically set in stone, you could say. So we have now 5 checkpoints connected here. And we have already 4 checkpoints connected here. Now we only have to figure out the rest. And since we are not going from this checkpoint down there, you can of course wonder what else can you do from this checkpoint. And the obvious solution is to go there, because that's the next checkpoint to get, you know. And also going this direction makes sense, because it is very difficult to find a way up to this CP. The only nice way is from this checkpoint here, you can use the ramp to get up here, but we want to connect this checkpoint with this checkpoint, because there is no other way to this checkpoint that makes a lot of sense. So it makes a lot of sense in this case to go this direction and from here to here. And when you're here, I mean, there are still possibilities. It could be the end of the track, you go to the finish, for example. You have here still some options. But this checkpoint here is pretty close and pretty nice, so it's definitely not out of the world. Otherwise, we have to also look at this here. We ended one of our checkpoint lines here, and down there is nothing, I can tell you, so it's obvious you have to go up. And if you go up this bridge, you have nothing here, you have one checkpoint there. You have to decide now if you take this checkpoint or if you jump to this checkpoint. This is the one part where it's not super obvious, but if you connect in the end all the lines, then this checkpoint here is left out. And you could then say it makes sense to take it here, because you're very close to it. Just driving past it is strange, because there is no other good line towards this checkpoint. So it makes sense that you actually take it, go down, and now go here. So now we connected already a lot. And the next thing that I can tell is start. At the start there are 2 checkpoints very close. It is either this one or it's this one. They are the 2 close checkpoints here. And if you have a look at this one, then the next question could be, which is the closest checkpoint from here? And now it gets only slightly tricky. The closest checkpoint from this here is obviously the one that the fastest route takes. It is right there. The only problem is you have to figure out, you have to notice that this jump is possible. Yeah, you have to notice that this jump is doable. But it's the closest. And it even makes a lot of sense. Because if you looked at all the CPs and at all the connections, you will realize that this checkpoint here sucks. This is also a checkpoint that doesn't really have many options how you get there and away from it. For example, we didn't figure out a way to enter the checkpoint from here, to land on this and go here. There was nothing. Maximum, jumping down here and using some pool bounce. But that would be also strange, because why wouldn't you take this checkpoint when you're already here? So there is just no way from this part. Oh, Spike with the raids. Thanks a lot. I just explained the pathfinding from the TM games. So there is just no way from this direction into this checkpoint. If there was, then you could nicely connect this one with this one. Very quick connection. But since we cannot come from here, it would always mean that this connection means you go into this checkpoint, you turn around, very awful to do, and then back. Not so nice. And this checkpoint here, from where can you even get it nicely? You can get it from here, but that also requires that you go up and then turn around to get here. Then you have very slow section to this. So makes not much sense. You can get it from here. That there were routes that were like 2 seconds behind us, 3 seconds behind us, that actually used this to make here a hairpin. And like this, yeah. But when you figure out that from this checkpoint, this jump works, then you have such an efficient way into the CP. It's like the shortest sector that you can have into this checkpoint, and it's also the shortest sector away from this checkpoint. So it makes absolutely sense. And from here, we cannot really go there because we connected with the other checkpoint, so we have to go to this one. There is just no other option. So now we are here. Now we have two ways. Either we climb up very slowly here, which is very awful, or we just go to the outside checkpoint there. We have basically a checkpoint here on the outside. We have also a checkpoint here. And one thing that I have to tell with this checkpoint, this is also one of those CPs. You always come from this direction into the CP, always from here. Either you come from here and drive into it, or you go very slow up this hill and you go into it. But there is not a single way where you would actually enter the checkpoint from here. I tried to get max speed and jump from here, but it just didn't work out. I also tried to wood grip on this, make a wood flick, but didn't work out. So, knowing that you always come from the other direction, it would of course make sense that you want to use your speed and drop down from here to this area. Yeah, that's already something I have to say. And we definitely don't want to climb slowly up here. Because then also we would again have the issue if we would connect this checkpoint with this checkpoint, and we already have the one here on the outside and so on, when would we ever get to this checkpoint? Because this checkpoint doesn't have any other connections. So you have to connect this one and this one. It is kind of set in stone because this one is also quite alone. Many checkpoints here are alone. Either you can only approach them from one side, or they are only connected to one or two other checkpoints. And if you figure that all out, then the best line creates itself, you can say. So it is obvious then, if you start down there, you go to this checkpoint, and then the only way is here, and then the only way is here. It makes all sense. So now you have to look. We have now gotten a few checkpoints here, and we have this line that we already know, and the line starts there. So we are there, and we have to go here. But do we do that now, or do we do that later? This is now the one thing that you have to decide. And this is also where some parts have slight differences. For example, Scrappy. Scrappy decided to do this part here, these checkpoints that are left, he does them at the end of his run. But with the knowledge that we have now, yeah, it just makes a lot of sense to go from here first to this checkpoint. And now this checkpoint here is very nicely connected over this corridor to this checkpoint, and then you can go there. But we can even do it better because this checkpoint is still missing. And you can connect from this checkpoint to this checkpoint. And with a wood flick here, it's very fast even, so that you get still to here. So you still connect from here to here, but you get an extra checkpoint without much time loss. And suddenly, basically everything comes together. We start. We take this checkpoint, we take, which is the closest to the start, or the second closest, like one of the two, yeah. This is like the thing. Scrappy decided now to go to this one first, which changed his line slightly later on. His line is slower that he took, I guess mainly because of this CP here. I guess that this is the reason why Scrappy's line is slower. Because he doesn't have this nice transition into this checkpoint. But if you start here, you have a very fast first checkpoint. You do the shortest sector possible into this checkpoint. You have only one option from here, which is this checkpoint. You have only one sensible option from here to this checkpoint, because otherwise you wouldn't really take this checkpoint. You have only... Also now we connect the other 3 checkpoints that were missing in this area by going here, taking this one to get here, and then we even have an amazing speed into this direction to this checkpoint, where we even can jump into the downhill. Like, how nice is that? As if it was planned. And now we have this whole combination. This checkpoint, and drop into this, and then here. And now you only have to figure out if you take checkpoint 10 or not. But it's very obvious that we will soon go into checkpoint 13. Like, either you take checkpoint 10 now, and then you go to 13. Also, we call them like that, 10 and 13. Now, yeah, this is something you don't know yet, but you can keep in mind that it could make sense. No? But it's very obvious that we go to this checkpoint once we are on this platform here. Because it's the only way to this checkpoint from the side. So when we're here, it's obvious to go there. And if you look now what checkpoints are missing, we miss this one, then maybe this one. And we have to make the connection to here still. Now from this checkpoint, you can get very quickly to this CP. But then just check how this ends. You take this one, you take this one, you take this one. You take the full outside one, and you take this one. So you end here. And if that is your ending, and you still need this checkpoint and this checkpoint, then that's a bit stupid. You would be back there and you still need those. Makes no sense. Hence, you have to take them now. And you cannot really nicely get up to this checkpoint here. There is not really a nice way for that. So that's the reason why it makes sense to take this one early. Also there is a way where you go here around, and then you would need to turn around and then drop very slowly down and so on. That does feel not right. You could also, maybe a bit faster, drop down here, go up, and now another very difficult jump is jumping off from here and then landing on that wood bridge. Ideally, you get grip on the first pixel of the bridge so that you make the turn without touching the wall. And then down. But yeah, that's always too much effort. That's the reason why it is faster to take the checkpoint direct. And from here, you can of course easily get down to this checkpoint. And now there's just one thing which makes this way to figure out, also which makes it more difficult to figure out this way. And that is that you have to know that you can jump from this checkpoint to this checkpoint. That this is connected. That is tight, this jump. And you have to figure out that this is a combination that you can do. Yeah, that is the thing where some people might struggle. If they don't figure that out, that you can do that even with turning around in a checkpoint, that you still have enough speed to make this jump. If you don't figure that out, then you of course don't find this complete route here. So Scrappy didn't need to do that. Yeah, Scrappy of course didn't need to get to this checkpoint because he started with this one. So Scrappy only had to turn around and had then to go to this checkpoint. Yeah, which is of course then way easier. But yeah, if you know that this combination is possible, then everything makes sense. You go from here to here, super quick sector, and then you jump to here, and then you have everything combined, and then this is actually the last checkpoint. You would not necessarily think that you end the race here, but it makes sense in hindsight. It just makes sense. It's logic that this is the fastest route, and it's the fastest route also by quite a margin. Yeah, it's not very close. And now we figured that out, thanks to the program, of course. But once we had it, it just was logic. It was just sensible, and I could also not see how this should be improved. Because you have checkpoint combinations that you just have to do. There's just no way around it. You have to do certain combinations. How was the Enduro? Long. 1 hour 15 minutes long. Yeah, not much happening. The map was not so spectacular. Yeah, it would have been cool if there were some more fancy lines. For example, we figured out from this checkpoint you can jump onto this roof and can drive on the roof. For example, also over the penalty to this CP. There might have been a faster line if we figured out a line from this checkpoint somehow up to this one. But we did not find anything here. So yeah, even though there are 20 checkpoints and also a bunch of them are placed close to the middle, you have to say, when you then understand the map, when you learn the map, when you learn everything here, it feels actually quite forced, many of these CPs. It feels quite forced. You have many connections you can only do in one direction, and the line that we drive now, it literally has no weaknesses. Everything makes sense in this line. Yeah. The only weird part is this checkpoint where you actually have to drive up, turn around, drive down again. That is a bit strange, but otherwise everything makes just a lot of sense. Okay, you could argue that the way from the last checkpoint to the finish is a little bit long, because you could have several other checkpoints as a last CP that would be way closer to the finish. Yeah, you could argue that this is not optimal, but still everything else in this route is just overpowered. Yeah, let's have a look at the top 5 real quick, and I show you Sapi first because he had a mega start. Without drift actually. He landed extremely well. Extremely well, plus he had a decent quarter pipe jump. But now comes the fun thing. I have no idea what the heck he just did in this section here. It was the completely wrong line. He lost so much time, you can see, in that part. As he didn't figure that out. So here some people actually went this way around. But it should be a little bit slower. Schmaniel at least did overtake the others. The small Neo slide was quite difficult to do right. And then of course especially this jump now was just very difficult. The landing here also a little bit random. Levon here gained a lot. This part was also mega weird to drive. Yeah, and you guys probably know it already, but if we focus on the fight between Raizo and Schmaniel, you will notice that Schmaniel actually was about to win this fight. And that would have been quite a lot of good points for Germany. But Raizo had a small trick into the finish. That is also not super consistent, maybe. Maybe it's not even very consistent, but he figured something out and it worked. And he passed Schmanuel by 6,000 thanks to that. Sucks, of course, for us Germans that Reise figured that out. You see, he was a bit ahead of Schmanuel, now he's behind. Yeah, pretty equal. Reiser had this amazing, but lost a bit of speed there. And lost a lot of speed here, but he goes for a different line where he has now an early platform grip. So he catches up a bit, but not as much. And now he goes for a wallbang. But Schmanuel is still slightly in front. And Schmanuel is about to win, but Reiso touches the finish and overtakes actually like that. Yeah, that of course sucks, but well, it to be like that. But yeah, this is the map. Definitely a cool map. Also we were definitely in awe when we saw that. But in the end you can really say, actually there could have been more connections. There could have been a few more connections. This route is gettable. It is findable.